What's going on, everybody? The weekend's almost over. There's a couple of different things I wanted to talk to you about. First thing is the AMC squeeze play. I'm very convinced that over the course of the next couple of weeks, we're gonna see a huge run up, and a lot of us are gonna have to plan on taking days off from work. And this is realistic. Start planning that now. Come up with your excuse. Do whatever you have to do to lay the foundation to be able to take that time off, because you're going to want to judge and develop your own opinion of what's going on and what you're going to do with the market. Next thing is, what are you going to do after this play? Now, there's a couple different plays that different either YouTubers or you might have just thought of on your own, or Wall Street Bets might have pointed you in a direction. Sundial might be the next one for you. I think that's where I'm going to lay my money. However, the rest of the market is starting to look like it's going to fall down for a little while. The reason why I say that is the impact that the had on the rest of the market. See, when that happened, that was March 2020. The market crashed very significantly. With that being said, that was for a real reason. When you really shut down the economy and people stop, let's just say, spending fuel, they're not spending money on anything. People aren't going to work. Industry in general was just struggling. This time last year, I was it this time last year? Well, it was about 18 months ago. I was building fences, and I took on a bunch of contracts, and I just couldn't get the supplies that I needed, and they were backed up. So that's just an example. Like, people never went to work. Now, I drive into Boston every single day, and I go to work, and I was told by somebody once, you want to keep an eye on the skyline, and with all the skyline, you should see cranes, and that's, new development going up, skyscrapers, big buildings, apartment complexes, stuff like that. And the more that you see, it means the more that the Fed is lending, and, the better the economy is. Well, another thing that I've taken into consideration, just rule of thumb myself, was when the happened, I still worked for a couple weeks. And I noticed that it went from cars being on the road every single day, traffic every single day, to stopped. There wasn't a car on the road. Actually, I remember this one time, I was driving up Route 24, and I was taking the trip from Fall River to Boston, and I saw like a group of deer on the road. I don't know if that's what you call a family of deer, but who gives a fuck? Anybody that knows this area knows that at 8 o'clock in the morning, it was actually closer to like 7. You would never see a family of deer on Route 24. I mean, this is a strip of highway that, I'd say about 1,000 cars pass per minute. That's a lot of cars. It was crazy. So that meant that people weren't out there spending gas. There was a real fundamental crash in the market. Now, moving forward, the market rebuilt up real fast with all the stimulus money. People that had never invested before were now in the market. Well, that ended up driving it up to where it is now. Now, if you think that this is a real market, I got news for you. For me, I think it's overinflated. There's just so much money in it that there's only one place for, a lot of the stock prices to go. And, unfortunately, I think that's going to come stumbling down. Now, one of the things that's going to be starting to draw back money from the market, it's going to cause a lot of problems, is like that Facebook fall apart, or Meta platforms, or whatever the fuck you want to call it at this point. They weren't able to meet expectations, meaning their cash flow wasn't what it was supposed to be. And, with the lack of popularity and their inability to move forward with the meta platforms and its like lack of instant success is causing that to just tumble, and they're taking losses head over heels. Now that can cause the rest of the tech market to do something similar. Now people start to draw their money away from it, and it causes a little bit of fear, and that can cause to a chain reaction of things. Next thing you know, the NASDAQ's plummeting, and people are pulling all their money out of tech stocks. Now, think about it. People saw the advantage back a couple of months ago of pulling their money out of the market and then reinvesting after the crash. Well, this might inevitably be, with the new robot Godzilla, the crash that's going to motivate these people to pull their money out of the market. Because they're going to see now, after, people's books go good, an even further downslide. And it's going to continue to fall. So, however, it's going to leave us with a good opportunity to get in. Moving forward, I think it's going to be a disaster. Now, like I said, over the course of the past couple of weeks, I've noticed that the skyline in Boston, there's less and less cranes. I count them every single week. It's just rule of thumb. I mean, I'm driving in, I can see the city on the horizon, I can see the cranes. And, there was like 10 less a couple of weeks ago. And like the other day, I could count like 7 or 8. And this is like a landscape that I could usually count like 50 or 60. The Fed's not lending money. They're already like, tightening up on their own spending. A lot of these companies, they can see it coming. The first one with their foot out the door is the first one that survives in the market. It's the same thing with business. I can see some tough times ahead. But we have to stay optimistic. We have to focus on our own play. Our own play is that AMC play right now. There's nothing else that matters until that blows up, because it's going to give us the opportunity to compound it. Very, very smart man at one time, Ben Franklin, said that the 8th wonder of the world, I think it was, is compounded interest. Consider that. The more that you hear that term, compounded interest, the more that you should realize that, we have a real ability right now to make a lot more money. And for those of you who are like, well, Arthur's fucking riding dick and all this other shit, like, get off a loose ass and da-da-da-da. I've been reviewing a lot of these videos, and I review a lot of his. Sometimes I go into some of them listening to what he says with a little bit of uncertainty. And sometimes I know that somebody that's a little bit dumber than me won't understand what the fuck they just heard. So mind your own fucking business. Blow a duck. I don't give a fuck. And, hey, have a good rest of your weekend. There's only